kind of random. This is This Week in Hip Hop Twitter, brought to you by the producers over at patreon.com/hip hop. Now, you know what it is. I'm with the homie Yintz.
What up?
What the fuck, man? What, like, we know we're gonna bleep them out, but what the fuck are people talking about on hip hop Twitter this week?
First thing I noticed, there was a conversation that took place putting two songs against one another. The two songs are Rebel Without a Pause from Public Enemy versus Halftime from Nas.
Oh, wait, what?
And like it was something along the lines of Halftime was better. Matter of fact, Halftime and It Ain't Hard to Tell for some reason was thought to be better than Rebel Without a Pause by Public Enemy.
And so wait a minute, I don't understand. If it was if at first it was two records, where the hell did the third record come from?
Well, I think the third record came from as the conversation built, and somebody was saying, well, they were mistakenly quoted as saying one, but they brought in the other one to go against it, and I don't know how or why you would. I don't know why you would even have that thought, but it kind of stirred up a little bit. A lot of people started responding to it, and it kind of turned into like an old head versus the younger cats in a way, because
oh my god,
of course, if you weren't around whenever the Rebel Without a Pause dropped, you have no idea of the significance. You have no idea of what the feeling of that time was like when that record dropped, and then to try to compare it to the Nas joints.
So this got to be a troll, because that matchup don't even make sense, right?
Right. Like, there's no, I don't know why that came about. I got no answer in that regard. I saw the little conversation taking place, and I was like, wait a minute, why? Just like you asking, like, how or why would you even think to put Halftime against Rebel Without a Pause?
Yeah, like when does that ever happen? When do anybody ever even mention Halftime like that? If they're talking about Illmatic, like, obviously it's on the album, but to be like, all right, y'all, who's better, Rebel Without a Pause or Halftime? It's like, wait a minute, Halftime? Who's that? What, Bell Biv DeVoe? Who did Halftime?
Yeah, y'all, man.
So I'll ask you this: which one is better?
Oh, without question, it's the Public Enemy joint. Without question. I mean, let me tell you, as much of a Illmatic fan as I am, there's not one joint on Illmatic that touches Rebel Without a Pause.
All right, tread lightly. Tread lightly, because you're talking about hip hop Twitter's holy grail. Holy fair.
I love it. I love the album. I champion that album, Illmatic, as much as possible. But no, we're not gonna do that. Not today. Not on this podcast. We're not doing that.
Right. I agree with you. I feel like you have to bring a iconic Nas song from that time. It could be It Ain't Hard to Tell, like you said. Or something, or New York State of Mind, one of the tentpole songs from Illmatic, because think about it, every time somebody mentioned or even said something like, what's your favorite song of Illmatic, or what's the best song, it's never Halftime. And it's not because it's a whack record, but it's never Halftime.
No,
yeah.
Nope.
It's just not the one you mentioned, so it doesn't make sense. And sleeping on Rebel Without a Pause, that song was different when it dropped,
Oh my God, yeah, that's like a damn time bomb. There's before that record, I don't think there was a record that ever sounded like that, for one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you put Chuck and the whole PE movement along with it, that album, classic material throughout. No.
And the beat is better. The beat is better.
Yeah, oh, Lord, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Even though it's Funky Drummer. Classic,
Right. But that's the problem. That's the problem, right, with the question. Because you're talking about a different time where it was Funky Drummer, but we didn't care back when that song came out. Right?
No. Nobody, there was no, oh man, that's just the Funky Drummer. No, there wasn't none of that bullshit.
It raises a whole other conversation just based off of you saying that. Because back when you think about the 80s, for you young Twitter dwellers, you ain't have that hip hop snob shit of, what sample is that? Saying that back then, right? Like nobody was which sample did he use? Ugh, I don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one now. Oh my God, forget about it.
Yeah. Oh, now that song is picked apart left and right, and I mean they got cats to this day that's trying to pick apart Bomb Squad production, and I mean they just on a whole nother planet when it comes to putting those songs together and how they did what they did to make you like. There's no, I don't know how you could decipher the different layers of sample on top of sample on top of sample.
Well, that was stupid and a waste of people's time this week. What else you got?
This last thing caught my eye because I think this is a pretty cool question and interesting, just conversation wise. A question was posed that the person thought, was wondering, is it a hot take to call Me Against the World by Tupac a top 10 hip hop album? So I'm guessing they saying like they didn't include of all time, so I don't want to misquote, but that just reading it, that's kind of what maybe they're saying. Is it? I'm gonna say it again. Is it a hot take to call Me Against the World a top 10 hip hop album?
I would say it's not. And I only say that because it's not my favorite Tupac album. That would be All Eyes on Me. But me and Tone on That Time in Hip Hop, which you can watch on the B-Roll Network on YouTube. The link is in the description of this episode. But me and Tone covered that album. I don't know if it was a recommendation or what, but I went back and listened to the whole album just to absorb it. Because when you heard something, even if you loved something, it doesn't mean years later when you press play, it's going to evoke that same emotion, right? Some albums do, and that's the ones we call classics because it instantly take you back to the first time you heard it. But I hadn't heard Me Against the World in its entirety in years. And so I was always hesitant about calling it a classic, definitely 4 to 4.5. But I wasn't as familiar with some of the songs. And, when I heard Tone talking about the album and what was there and what he was doing on different tracks, not just the tracks we know. And I went back and listened, like hands down, one of Tupac's best albums. What do you think, though? Do you see it as a top 5 hip hop album of all time or even top 10?
No, I don't see it as top 5 or top 10. If I'm not mistaken, the album came out in 1995. And in 1995, there's a lot of albums that would give it a run for its money. So if this person means, just any year, just a top 10 of any year, I can't do that because there's so much that came out before that I would have in a top 10 above this. And then, like I said, even looking at 1995, they got some albums in there that I would have ahead of it just in 1995. And let me just say this too for hip hop Twitter, that does not in any way mean that album is whack or that album is not listenable for me. I like the album. The album is dope. I'm not afraid to say that the album is dope, but I'm also not afraid to say that there are albums that I consider better albums. So yeah, to answer your question, I can't go top 10. I mean, like I said, I can't even go top 10 95. I can't. I mean, I'll just give you a couple of albums out of 95.
Yeah, give us some 95 albums.
All right, so you had Goody Mob's Soul Food came out in 95. Liquid Swords from the Jizza. You had the Kool G Rap 456 album. And you had what many consider a top hip hop album, period, only built for Cuban links.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you got albums like that. You know, and then the infamous Mobb Deep. I can't put that against. I can't put it ahead of that Mobb Deep. You know, I mean, it's just albums that are just, in my opinion, better just within 95.
Well, I will say this: by no means is it in my top 5 or top 10 of all time or 1995 for the same reasons Jens mentioned. But I'm thinking more so in the mind of a person who was a bigger Tupac fan than me.
Word. Now that would make more sense for them. Yep.
Right. You know what I mean? Because I didn't really become like a Tupac fan for real until All Eyes on Me. And it wasn't that I didn't like songs. I loved a number of songs. Right. But I just wasn't a fan of Tupac's production, not the beats, but how he would dub his voice and wouldn't use the second track as a lower version. They'd be at the same gain, and it drove me crazy because it wasn't just on one word. It was like the whole verse, and it's like, man, turn that other track down a little. Like, it just drove me crazy. And I think that's probably the reason why I like All Eyes on Me, because when you think about it, it's not much of that on there, or it's a little bit more subdued.
Right.
With that Death Row production. So, but I agree. Like, when you name just those albums alone, I think there's a conversation to be had about it competing. Right. But I think not All Eyes on Me, Me Against the World in some circles is a debatable classic. Whereas, Only Built for Cuban Links, Liquid Swords, you only hear classic associated with those albums. Right. Like, even if the source might say otherwise.
Right. Yep. They say otherwise. It's true. Love the album. Yeah. Let me repeat it again, because I know there's gonna be some people.
Yeah, you gotta repeat that.
I'm hating on Tupac. I know one person in particular. I'm not gonna name no names, but I know one person.
Who?
Hey, man. Yeah.
I mean, I said it. You didn't say it.
Yeah.
So.
I know it's gonna come out like that, because I've had my little share jokes in his name, but I like the album. I got the catalog. I'm a fan. So to me, being a fan, I could say exactly what I said. There's no malicious intent. Hip hop Twitter. There's no right. There's none of that. Pac
is none of that.
Pac is dope. The album is dope, but it don't stand up to what I consider to be the better albums within 95, let alone the better albums that came before. Simple and plain.
Right. And look, for those of you on Hip Hop Twitter who want to know, well, why? Like, why? Why not? It's a great album. It's a classic. Well, Jens, and I'm going to speak for him, Jens has taken off points for excessive use of enemies in Hennessy?
Uh-oh. Here it come. It coming for me now.
Stress on the E.
The E.
In
enemy, both. Plenty enemies.
Right.
Drinking all that Hennessy. All right. I'm not going to go no further. That was my little impression.
Yeah, you better chill. Chill. Well, I think one thing I will say, kudos to that person, because they sound like somebody who has a job and a life and just wanted to ask a hip hop question. Is it a hot take? You know what I mean? Like, to me, I can't be mad at that kind of a take. Now, when you're just throwing to the wind, like, who's better, Nas or Public Enemy? It's like, yo, get out, fam. Get out. Get out the car. Doe, let me out.
Hey, drop you off right here. Yeah, it's a good question. Not a hot take at all, in my opinion.
Right. Now, if we swap the album out and say Big L's, Lifetimes of the Poor and Dangerous, or whatever it's called,
right,
that is a hot take because we were there.
Right.
Rest in peace, Big L, but your is garbage, which you're trying to acknowledge. Rest in peace, Tupac and Big L.
R.I.P. Yes, sir.
That's going to do it for us on This Week in Hip Hop Twitter. If you would like to become a producer of this podcast and other podcasts produced under the Hip Hop Now podcast family tree, visit patreon.com/hiphop. Now, Yentz, it's been real, man. And this was a little, I like this. This was a little bit more, of a discussion, it didn't have me going too crazy.
Well, yeah. We don't want the blood pressure getting too high. We was all right this week.
Well, we black. We use cognac to lower that. Bars. Right. All right, y'all. Until next time, subscribe and share with people enjoy this kind of content. Peace.
Drop
it on the random.